Hi Hoffman Hawks, Mrs. Gutierrez here. I teach the 4th grade and today we are going to be painting a rock. For the supplies you need a couple of different colors. These were all acrylic paints. I bought them at Michael's and they were 89 cents each. You can choose any colors that you'd like. I chose these colors because they reminded me of the rainbow. So I have red, orange, yellow, green, this sort of a teal color because I didn't really find a blue that I was looking for, black, a lilac color, a pink, and then there's also a white color. A few more of the tools that you're going to actually need when you're painting your rock. You're going to need the back of a lip balm, so maybe like the cap, and I have a lot of these lying around the house, so the back of a lip balm will work. And then it's plastic, so you can easily wipe it off. You're going to need a fresh eraser. So any pencil that has a nice flat round eraser. You're going to need a couple of Q-tips, okay? And if you notice, on one end of the Q-tip, I pulled the cotton off to reveal the cardboard part of the Q-tip, which also gives me a nice round, small round edge on those, okay? So you're going to use the cotton side on one, and then you're going to take off the cotton off the other. So it's going to be served for 2 purposes. This is a double-sided tool you have here, okay? Then you're also going to need some toothpicks. I just have about 3 here. And of course, you're going to need a rock. Be sure when you choose your rock, it's nice and flat and smooth, something that's going to be easily painted. And then I have a couple of baby wipes here so that we can easily clean our hands. And then you're also going to need a paper plate so that you can add a little bit of paint to your paper plate. Okay, so these are going to be the supplies that we have here. And if you notice, we just have a couple of dots of our paint, and they are about a dime or a nickel size paint. I also have with me today a special guest. You want to get up and say hi real quick? So I have my son, and he is going to be painting a rock while I demonstrate the rock to you. So we're going to go ahead and move these out of the way. And I'm going to move our supplies out of the way. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our black paint and we're going to create a nice background to, we're going to create a nice background so that when we add our paint colors, they're going to be bright and they're going to just pop. So I'm going to add about a nickel-sized amount of paint. And with my finger, this is another tool that you have that you can definitely use. I'm just going to smear the paint all over the rock, just like that. Okay. Make sure you get the edges. And just like that. So you've covered your rock with a black background. If you would like, you can choose any background color that you would like. But I chose black just because the colors that I chose for my paint are the color of the rainbow, and I really want them to pop out and stand out. Okay, Adrian, here's your white. All right, so be sure before you start adding the colors to your rock that it is nice and dry. So wait a couple of minutes for the paint to dry, and then you can go right over it with the colors. Okay. If you haven't already, just a little while ago, I mentioned that I took off the cotton to one of the Q-tips. Be sure you go ahead and pull the cotton off to one of the Q-tips, and this way you reveal the cardboard part of the Q-tip that we're going to use as another tool. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get, I have a rock that is nice and dry here. So you can see this one is still a little wet, and I know that it's wet because it's really shiny. So I'm going to push it to the side, and I have one here ready to go. Okay. And Adrian has his rock right here also as well. All right, so the first thing is I'm going to take the end of our lip balm, and I'm going to dip it, and I'm going to choose the color white, and this is a pearl white. I'm just going to dip it into the pearl white, and I'm going to make sure I have a good coating, just like this. And I am going to place it on my rock. Whoop, and see, it's okay. So if this happens, just add a little bit more paint and place it on your rock once again. And it's not perfect, so I'm going to do it one more time. And that looks pretty good to me. And so now Adrienne is going to try. And you can choose any spot. So this is going to be kind of like our beginning spot or our beginning dot. And it's going to be the largest dot that we start with. And then afterwards, we're going to create several dots around it and just kind of create a design with dots, basically. Okay. So next, we are going to take, let's take the eraser. And Adrienne, I'm going to show first, and then you can use the eraser, okay? So first, we're going to use the eraser, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the red, and I'm just going to dip the end of my eraser in the red ink, or paint, I'm sorry, and I'm going to put 4 dots first. And I'm doing this just for symmetry, and so that it can be even. So I'm going to put my red dot on one end first, and then I'm going to go directly down, and I'm going to add my second dot, okay? And it's not perfect, but I'm trying to get it as close to being symmetrical as possible. Then I'm going to add a third dot to the right side, and then another dot to my left side. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a little bit more paint, and I'm going to go in between those 2 dots and just fill in with the paint. Now it's not perfect, and it's okay. This is our rock, and it's going to be beautiful no matter what. But I'm just going in between the dots that I had already created, and I created my dots. So Adrienne, I'm going to take this off, and you can choose any color. Just kind of do the same pattern that I have there. All right. So while Adrienne is doing his, I am going to very nice. And I love the colors that you chose. So I'm going to take my Q-tip, okay, and I'm going to take the small end of the tool where I took off the cotton, and I'm just going to dip it in the orange. Actually, let's use, I'm going to use the cotton side first. Okay, so remember we have our Q-tip. It is a double-sided tool. We have one side with cotton, and we have one side with no cotton that we took off. And I'm going to use the side for now with cotton. Alrighty. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip it into the yellow, and I'm going to try to go in between the red, kind of where it makes like a little space. And I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow in between the red dots, just like so. Okay. All right. And I am going to use my wipey, and I'm just going to take as much of the paint off as I can. And I'm going to pin this video a little bit larger. Sorry, I should have done that from the beginning. Alrighty. What I'm going to do now is I am going to take the same Q-tip. Okay, it's got a little bit of yellow on there, but I've taken the excess paint off, and it should not, it shouldn't get onto your rock. And I'm going to go in, and I'm going to choose the orange. So here is my orange, and I'm just going to get that in there. And I'm going to make 2 dots in between the yellow ones. So I'm going to make 1, 2, And really, there's no right way or wrong way to do this. I just like adding dots with Q-tips because it's a little easier for me. And so I'm just kind of painting in between. And like I said, it's not perfect at all, but I am loving the colors on this rock. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and put this Q-tip to the side. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end of the Q-tip where I took the cotton off, and I'm going to dip it into, sorry, Adrian, I'm going to dip it in, go ahead and reach there. I'm going to dip it into the green, okay? And then I am going to actually come back in between the red, so right in here, and I'm going to add a green dot right in between the red and the white, just to add some color. If you have these tools and you want to create a different design, that is absolutely okay. This is your design. So it's kind of making this colorful, bright design. And this is amazing because most of us have these tools in our home and we're using them to make some really cool designs on these rocks. I am going to now take the toothpick, okay? And I'm going to dip the toothpick in this really light pink color, and actually, what are we trying to this way? And I'm going to just go in between these orange dots, and I'm going to create or place 3 tiny dots in between my orange dots, and they're really, really tiny. So I'm going to try to get as close to the camera as possible. There. Like I said, it does not have to be perfect. Just leaning away, making some happy little dots here. And some happy little circles. Oh, and I like that pink. Doesn't that look really cool, Adrian? Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more, and I'm just going to go right in between some of these spaces here where I can see the black, and I'm just going to add some more pink. Just like so. Now I'm noticing that not all of my, I accidentally dipped it in the wrong color. I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to add a few more dots. That pink really stands out on my rock. I'm really liking that color. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to go back to the part of my Q-tip where I had the green on, and it's basically the cardboard side, and I'm just going to take as much of that paint off as possible. Okay, and then I'm going to go and dip it into this beautiful teal color. This reminds me of our Hoffman Hawk colors. It's sort of in that same family. And I'm just going to go around and I'm going to add a dot. And that teal color sort of blends in a little bit with my black. But I'm just going to add 2 dots underneath my orange ones, just like so. Just creating little happy dots. I'm just going to keep going all the way around my rock, just like so. Very pretty. Look at yours. Can you put it under the camera? Ooh, isn't that beautiful? It looks like a really beautiful flower. Very pretty. All right, boys and girls, now I'm going to take my toothpick again, and I'm going to dip it into the, what color do you think I should choose? The yellow, maybe? I'm going to dip it into the yellow color with my toothpick, and I'm just going to go around this time, around those teal, and I'm going to try to get as close as possible. And I'm gonna make, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dots. How's that? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I need to get a little bit more paint, and I'm just going to go over those yellow dots because they kind of faded out. 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe I can get it in there. So just like so. And so remember, it's 8 tiny little dots that I have created with my toothpick. And I have a few, one more teal circle right here, and I'm just gonna put a few more dots here. 1, 2, 3, 4, just so that I kind of keep going with the same pattern as much as possible. Very cool. How's it coming along, Adrian?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
In my opinion.
Very, very cool. I'm going to go back. So if you notice, between where I placed my tiny little yellow dots, I kind of have this really big gap here. I'm going to fill it with some paint using my eraser. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to go in. I'm going to just do the red one. Okay, just like so. And I'm just going to dip the end of the eraser, and I'm going to go in between. Sorry, I'm going to go in between, just like so. In between here. Just ending. So I was only able to add 5 red circles, and that's okay. And it's like that because at the very beginning, when I added my white dot, I offset it so that it wasn't directly in the center. Okay. And so I'm just going to use my wipey, and I'm going to clear the paint off of my eraser, and I'm going to put that over so that Adrian can use it. And I'm going to grab my Q-tip, and I'm going to grab the end, the one where we took off the cotton, the cardboard end, and I'm just going to wipe as much of the paint off as possible. And then I am going to go back in there, and I'm going to grab the orange this time, just like so. And in between the red, I'm just going to make kind of like a wide U. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to connect from the red here to the red here, and just with dots. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, I was able to make 3. And I'm going to start here. 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to actually go back and kind of fill that in with a little bit more paint, just so that it's filled in. And I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Just kind of filling in that black space with some type of a pattern over those, because it's kind of faded out.
And every design works.
Yes, it does not. There is not any right or wrong way to do it. This is your design. Adrian, do you want to show us your rock so that we can all see it? Ooh, I love the colors on this. I love that. That's beautiful. boys and girls. So once you have finished with the design on your rock that you choose, remember to let your rock dry entirely before you touch it. So Miss G is being very careful to pick it up on the bottom part of the rock where it has no paint. But just remember to let it dry. And I hope that you've enjoyed this little mini rock tutorial, and I would love to see your paintings, your rocks. Very nice, Adrian. I'd love to see them. So if you can, if you're able to, take a picture of your rock and share it to us on Hoffman's Twitter page, and you can share it at, so you'll have to do the @ sign. And actually, you can share it on, I'm going to scoot this a little bit over. You can share it on Twitter. Oh my gosh. You can share it on our Twitter page at, I believe it's Hoffman. Let me just double check. I don't have it memorized.
And you need to clean your hands with the...
Yes, be sure you clean your hands. And I'm sorry, this should actually be at NISD. So when you share your photos to the Hoffman page, be sure you put the little @ sign. And then it's going to be NISD. I'm going to scoot that a tiny bit over. And it's going to be Hoffman. Just like that. And take a picture of your rock and share it with us so that we can all take a look at your rocks.